Picture your mind working like two cars at the same time, one racing fast without thinking, and the other moving slowly but with precision. The book Thinking Fast and Slow reveals how these two systems shape our daily lives, from the simplest shopping choices to the most important life decisions. You'll discover that much of what feels logical is actually a trick of fast thinking, and that slowing down can completely change your outcomes. In this summary, we'll dive into a fascinating world that uncovers how the human mind really works. You'll learn about the hidden mental traps we all fall into and how you can harness the power of slow thinking to make wiser, more conscious decisions. If you want to understand yourself better and unlock the secrets of the mind, this book is your gateway. Part 1. Two systems in the mind. Imagine your mind as a stage with two main characters. One acts instantly, fast and automatic. The other takes its time, slow and thoughtful. Daniel Kahneman calls them System 1 and System 2, and together they shape the way we see the world and make decisions every single day. System 1 is the quick actor. It reacts immediately without effort or reflection. It helps us recognize faces, finish sentences, or sense danger in a split second. It feels natural because it works silently in the background. But here's the catch. While fast, it often jumps to the wrong conclusion. System 2, on the other hand, is the thinker. It takes control when things get complicated, solving problems, weighing options, or checking details. It is logical and deliberate, but because it consumes energy, our brain often avoids using it unless absolutely necessary. Kahneman reminds us of a surprising truth. Most of the time, it is System 1 running the show, while we like to believe that our rational mind is in control. In reality, logic and slow reasoning only step in when intuition fails, or when we deliberately choose to slow down. These two systems are not separate voices, but two modes of operation. System 1 sends impressions and suggestions, while System 2 decides whether to accept or reject them. This constant interaction explains why we are capable of both brilliant insights and silly mistakes. By understanding how these two systems work, we gain a powerful advantage. We learn when to trust our intuition and when to pause for deeper reasoning. This awareness is the first step towards smarter choices, fewer mental traps, and more control over how we think and act. Part 2. Heuristics and Biases. Our minds love shortcuts. Kahneman calls these mental shortcuts heuristics. They help us make decisions quickly without spending too much energy. But while they save time, they can also lead us astray. Our automatic thinking often jumps to conclusions that feel right but are actually wrong. One common bias is anchoring. When we see a number first, our brain unconsciously uses it as a reference for all decisions that follow. This happens even when the number is completely irrelevant. Our fast thinking system accepts it without question, while slow thinking rarely intervenes. Another bias is availability. We judge the likelihood of events based on how easily examples come to mind. If a dramatic story or recent news pops up, we assume it is more common than it really is. System 1 takes a shortcut, creating distorted perceptions of reality. System 1 also relies on representativeness. We often judge situations by how much they resemble a familiar pattern, rather than by actual probabilities. This leads to overconfidence and mistaken assumptions, especially in uncertain situations. Kahneman explains that these biases are not flaws, but natural byproducts of how our minds evolve to think fast. Understanding them is crucial because it allows us to notice when our intuition is misleading us. By learning to recognize these mental traps, we can engage System 2 more effectively. Slowing down our thinking, questioning first impressions, and carefully analyzing information helps us make decisions that are not only faster, but also more accurate and reliable. Part 3. Overconfidence. Humans are naturally confident in their judgments, even when they are wrong. Kahneman shows that our minds often overestimate what we know and underestimate uncertainty. This overconfidence can affect decisions in business, finance, and daily life. We like coherent stories and patterns, so our brains create narratives to explain events, even when the information is incomplete. This makes us feel certain about outcomes that are actually unpredictable. System 1 constructs these stories automatically, while System 2 rarely challenges them. Experts are not immune. Kahneman explains that even professionals often trust their intuition too much, ignoring statistical evidence or probability. This bias can lead to serious mistakes because feeling confident is not the same as being correct. Awareness of overconfidence is the first step toward better thinking. By questioning assumptions, seeking evidence, and considering alternative outcomes, we can reduce errors and make smarter, more rational choices. Understanding this bias also helps us recognize how the mind simplifies complexity. Confidence feels comfortable, but it is often a shortcut that masks uncertainty. The key takeaway is simple. Slow down, challenge your instincts, and let System 2 do its work. Real wisdom comes from balancing intuition with careful reasoning. Part 4. Choices. Life is full of decisions, big and small, and our minds often struggle to make them rationally. Kahneman explains that people do not always act in ways that maximize their own benefit. Our judgments are influenced by how choices are framed, not just by their actual outcomes. One major insight is that humans are loss-averse. Losing something feels worse than gaining the same thing feels good. This explains why people avoid risks, even when taking them could be beneficial. System 1 reacts strongly to potential losses, often overriding careful reasoning from System 2. We also tend to overweight rare events and underweight common ones. The mind reacts emotionally to dramatic possibilities, even if they are unlikely, creating decisions that appear irrational. Kahneman shows that our preferences are not fixed. The way options are presented, their framing, can change what we choose. This highlights the importance of awareness. By understanding these tendencies, we can step back and analyze decisions more clearly. Decision-making is not just about logic. Emotions, intuition, and mental shortcuts all play a role. Recognizing their influence allows us to take control and avoid predictable mistakes. The key lesson from this part is that better decisions come from slowing down, questioning gut reactions, and carefully considering the real probabilities and consequences before choosing. Part 5. Two selves. Life is experienced in two different ways. Kahneman calls them the experiencing self and the remembering self. The experiencing self lives in the moment, feeling joy, pain, or discomfort as events happen. The remembering self reflects on those experiences later, creating memories and stories about them. Our remembering self often has more influence on decisions than the experiencing self. We make choices based on how we expect to remember events, not necessarily how we will feel in the moment. This can lead to decisions that seem irrational if judged by moment-to-moment happiness. Memory and experience do not always match. A painful experience that ends well can be remembered as better than it felt, while a mildly enjoyable event that ends badly may be remembered negatively. Our minds give more weight to the ending and peak moments than to the full duration. Kahneman calls this the peak-end rule. It explains why we evaluate experiences by key moments rather than the total sum. System 1 creates these intuitive impressions, while System 2 rarely questions them unless prompted. Happiness and satisfaction are shaped more by the remembering self than the experiencing self. We plan vacations, career moves, and life events based on memories and anticipated stories, sometimes neglecting the quality of daily experiences. This part of the book also highlights the illusion of validity. People believe they can predict outcomes and control experiences, but often their memories and judgments are biased. Overconfidence can mislead us about what truly brings fulfillment. Kahneman emphasizes that understanding the difference between the two selves helps us make better life choices. By paying attention to both moment-to-moment experience and remembered outcomes, we can align our decisions more closely with true well-being. Awareness of these two selves also teaches us humility. We recognize that our intuitive judgments may be flawed, and that reflection and analysis are necessary to evaluate life's experiences accurately. The ultimate lesson is that wisdom comes from balancing intuition with careful reflection, and from understanding how we perceive, remember, and evaluate our lives. By doing so, we gain more control over happiness, decisions, and the stories we tell about ourselves. Thinking Fast and Slow reveals the fascinating ways our minds work through two systems: the fast, intuitive System 1 and the slow, deliberate System 2. Kahneman also uncovers common mental traps, biases, overconfidence, and the influence of memory versus experience that shape our decisions every day. Understanding these concepts helps us make smarter choices, avoid predictable errors, and gain more control over our thoughts and actions. If you found this summary insightful, don't forget to support us by subscribing to the channel and giving a like. Your support motivates us to create more high-quality content, breaking down complex books into easy-to-understand summaries that help you grow and think better.